Okay, so the main card, people. We got some really good fucking fights on this, right? So we open up in the welterweight division. We got Danny Barlow against Sam Patterson, right? The left hand to God, right? I thought it's a left hand of God, but on his topology, it says left hand to God. It's not as good, but we got left hand of God, right? He has been looking really fucking, right? Only 2 fights so far in the UFC, but 2 wins. He came via the Contender Series, and man, he just looks like he could be something, right? If he continues the way he's going, I feel it looks like he could be something. You know? It's like he puts some great combinations together. He's very sharp and he pressures. Now, Sam Patterson, the UK, right? Actually from the UK. You know what I mean? Like, he's good. He's 2-1 in the UFC. He also, like Barlow, he came via the Contender Series. And, man, his last 2 fights, he's won via submission. Right? He won on the Contender via submission. He lost his debut in the first round. Right? It was strikes, right? A knockout. And I think in all of Patterson's fights, right, he does a good job with the subs, but he fights very upright. His chin is just there. His chin is just there. And the thing is, you could definitely see he'd made adjustments after his UFC debut, right? He definitely had made adjustments, but in the next 2 fights, he's still getting hit. Right? And there's still been like moments where you're like, this ain't good, right? But he's been able to get a takedown. And I just think, right, Barlow, with the way he puts his shots together, his shot selection is very good. His combinations, his pressure. And I think with that chin up so high, Barlow's going to catch it. So I'm going with Barlow for the win. It's a bit of a showcase for the featherweight. The featherweights, right? And our next fight, man, it's William Gomis against Hyder Amil. And boy, William Gomis, right? Man, he's looked interesting, right? He is 4-0 in the UFC. 4-0 in the UFC. And, you know, his last fight, he beat Joe Anderson Brito. And Joe Anderson Brito is no joke. No joke at all. But I think the thing with Gomis is he can really slow a fight down, right? He makes everyone seem to fight at his pace, right? He's got a good variety of attacks. He uses a lot of kicks, takedowns. He's very good at putting it all together. Now, across the cage, Hyder Amil is a motherfucking buzzsaw, right? Relentless pressure. He puts punches together. I think I think it was the last fight, right? He had Laura Sang flabbergasted, because he put together something like a 30 punch combination. It was crazy. You know, he's undefeated. He's really frigging good, right? So we have these two very good fighters who haven't lost in a time coming together. But I think the difference is, as I said, like Gomis can slow a fight down. He's able to slow it down. And I don't think he's going to just be... There's a lot of times these guys, they're just in front of Amil. So he's able to catch them. And that's not Gomis' game. You know what I mean? So I think Gomis is going to be able to get the win. I think he's going to slow Amil down. He's going to frustrate him. And he's going to get the win. I'm going William Gomis, people. Right? Next, we've got a lightweight fight, right? We have got Nasrat Haqparast against Esteban Ribovics. I am impressed. I those names correct. I feel I did. Maybe I didn't. But yeah, Haqparast, he is 9-4 in the UFC. And he's coming on a 4-fight win streak, right? Pretty tasty. 4-fight win streak. Jared Gordon, a contentious split decision. The last one. Jamie Malarkey, Landon Quinteros, and John Medesi. He did lose to Dan Hooker and King Green, who have probably been his best opponents, and Drew Dober, right? So as the competition has gone up, just hasn't been able to get there. But he is a good fighter. You know what I mean? He is a good fighter. He is against Esteban Ribovics, though. And Ribovics, I mean, what can we say, right? Hasn't had as many fights, right? He's 3-1. He came via the Contender Series. But he's fight, right? He lost his UFC debut. I do believe a short notice affair. I do believe that was a short notice affair. But it's just like the fights after that, right? Beat Kamala Kirk. Then that head kick he landed on Terrence McKinney was nasty. It was nasty. And then the fight against Daniel Zellhuber. Come on, people. That fight is probably going to end up in the UFC Hall of Fame. Right? It's probably going to end up in the UFC Hall of Fame because it was bonkers. And he did get in trouble a couple of times, but then just turned it around. When you look at the pace they fought at, he was still throwing in that third. Still throwing in the third and to the bell. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, right, the way he can, get out of the way of a punch. Right? He's got good combinations. He's got good fight IQ. I think the Ribovics, I just don't see him losing this fight, right? I think he's got more weapons and he utilizes a lot of kicks. So, I'm going Esteban Ribovics for the win. So next we go to the co-main event. It's a middleweight clash between Cody Brundage and Julian Marquez. All right, so this fight, it's kind of a tough one because neither guy has... you feel that neither guy has been able to hit the form that you kind of thought that they could hit. You know, it's like he lost to Bo Nickel, and then he had a no contest to Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And the thing with the loss to the no contest to Al Hassan, right? Now, it was called for illegal strikes to the back of the head. But the thing with that, when you watch that fight, Brundage was already on, what do you call it? Wobbly street. His legs were gone, right? He was hot stepping after being caught by some nasty punches. So he was loopy before any strike that may have landed on the back of the head. So when they're like talking to him and being like, "Are you okay?" You know, it kind of felt a bit, you know what I mean? Because it was just like, he's been cracked multiple times on the chin. So his blurriness, it ain't really from a strike to the back of the head. It's from all the punches he took to the face before that point. You know what I mean? So, you know, you can basically say he was knocked out in that fight. Fair. Right? So I think he's, you know, not looked great in the last two. Right? He won another one from a legal knee, you know, the Jacob Malkoun fight, which again, he was losing. You know, he does have some good fights. He beat Rodolfo Vieira, right, by a submission, that's like crazy, right? Michael Oleochek, you know, he has got some good wins, but he's, you know, he hasn't been able to reach where you think he can. Now, Julian is someone else, the Cuban, you know, missile strike, right? The missile crisis. He's like, he looked very good when he came, you know, tender series. You know, he fought in LFA. You know, he had some promising wins. Had some really promising wins, but his last victory was 2021 against Sam Alvey. You know what I mean? Like, and the last few fights, he was, you know, I have to give him props at the fact that he, like, I think one of the craziest fights was the fight against Maki Piloto, right, where he won by Anaconda, because he got rocked in that fight, but his heart, he stayed in there. And Marquez, he does have heart, but he's been finished in his last three. Gregory Rodriguez, Marc-Andre Barry, and Zach Reese. And Marc Barrier, right, the power bar, he's the pressure he puts on people, but I wouldn't say he's known for his knockout power. So the fact that he was able to finish Marquez kind of shows that I feel Marquez's chin could be done. You know, so although neither fighter has been able to give us the performances that you kind of really could have, they've not hit that level. I think Brundage is the one with the most left in the tank. So I'm going Cody Brundage for the win in the main event.